All right, here's the LightCarbon LCE930. I'll do some kind of medium termish review here. Had this thing for a while. I bought the frame in like 2023, and now it's January 2026. It took a while to actually get it built up because I was lazy, but it's been rideable for, you know, a year and a half, 2 years now. So here we are. Yeah, I have some impressions, some feedback. We can start at the e-bike stuff that people care about. This thing runs on the, here we go, this is a much better side, M820. Weird, no feedback, backpedaling. I guess that's an e-bike thing. I don't know the specs on the motor. I'll put a little screen cap in here while I talk about it. As far as the battery goes, it's a 410 watt-hour battery, definitely on the lightweight e-bike side of things. I think the overall weight of this bike is probably just under 45 pounds, or like 20 kilos. As far as how all that integrates with the frame, the charging port is nice. That part was all good. The speed sensor is just this little guy stuck on a spoke. Literally just like line it up with this little sensor pot here that's wired back to the motor and all that. So you don't need any 6-bolt brake speed sensor stuff that seems really annoying to deal with. So that's cool. The controls for it, I got the cheapo controller. It seems pretty good to me, because I'm a caveman. It just has, you know, power down here, battery, this is 3 out of 5 bars, 1 through 5 battery power, easy as that. I think this is like walk mode or eco or something at 0, or maybe it's just off. Honestly, I don't know, man. But it's functional enough. I'm not mad at that. The other option is this goofy guy. When I was buying from LightCarbon, I didn't know which one I wanted, so I just went ahead and got both. So it's got these little paddles on it, which have pluses and minuses, so I guess those adjust the speed. And presumably, the screen gives you like a readout on battery and power, and I don't know. Here's mode. Power? Yeah, whatever. I don't know. I didn't want this. This looks goofy as hell, mounted up here somewhere. And this little guy does everything I want, so yeah, good for a Luddite like me. One other thing about the electronics of this thing is the Bafang charger. This thing is sketchy. This thing feels like, you know, this is like as light as a laptop charger, except it's much bigger. So I don't know what's in this box. I'm not too much of an electronics guy. But this thing feels cheap and light. So I don't leave it plugged in overnight. Don't want to burn my house down. Would it do that? Probably not, but I don't really want to find out. I think that's pretty much it for e-bike stuff. As far as the frame itself, the geometry is pretty good, I would say. The chainstay is definitely long. If you're not into long chainstays, you're gonna have a bad time with that. The seat tube kink is terrible. That's the worst part about this bike so far. Well, okay. This is the worst part about the bike geometry so far, is this is a 150 dropper and it's literally bottomed out down here. So, and it has this much post sticking out. If you're a taller rider, it's probably fine, but short kings like me and my wife cannot You can't get this thing low enough. When you're riding, you got to seat up your ass. I mean, look at the distance between a wheel and the seat. That's like, I don't even know. That's like a downhill bike amount of travel, or so it seems, you know? But that's not the case. What else we got? As far as travel goes, it's 150 rear through a 160 fork on front. The base geometry chart I'll pull up also. It's 150 by 150 in 29er mode. I set this up as a mullet. So, and through a 160 fork on front. So it did end up slacker, higher stack. The reach is a little bit shorter, so I put a slightly longer stem, which I regret now and I'll change out. Yeah, it ends up very low at like 63-degree head angle or something like that. But it rides pretty awesome. I don't like about the frame. We can go into some of those. The shock, I don't like trunnion mount shocks all that much. I guess I understand them trying to fit this whole thing into a smaller package, but I don't know why you couldn't just have the linkage come straight out here. I don't know if this makes sense at all. Have the pivot hole right here with just, you know, a normal shock eye instead of trunnion into here. Because I feel like, I don't know, these pivots feel a little loose sometimes, and so do these. Also, a lot of shocks have a rebound knob way down at the base, and good luck adjusting that ever. That's like, I guess, half on me. If I remove this shock ever, I'll flip the shaft around and put the knob here. But even then, I'm like, you know, trying to reach into here to adjust the rebound is not great. So that's kind of the shock. Other than that, standard 4-bar stuff, it's all good there. It comes with a chain guide. The chain guide didn't fit, so whatever. The chain ring is fine. The cranks are 170 millimeter, which is a little longer, but also fine, whatever. The motor casing is plastic and not super durable. Do have a crack over here from, you know, a little bit of case action in the year and a half or whatever of riding this thing. But that's fine. On to some of the uglier bits. Headset cable routing. What are we doing, guys? This thing is horrible. The assembly of this bike was a nightmare because running 4 cables, like the battery fills this like lower 80% of the down tube, and all your cables lay on top of the battery and are in this like little space, this void in here. And that's brake line, dropper, shifter, and all of the motor battery bullshit. And LightCarbon has made this little headset piece here with 2 ports for cables to come in and out of. But this piece is like, it's plastic. You can tell how cheap it is. It does like kind of move independently. And when you have to run, like, the motor cable is here and just, I had to wind it back and forth on itself here. It looks horrible just because it's so much cable. Like, I don't know where they planned this to be. This sensor could be like 3 feet away and it'd still have enough cable. So I don't know, maybe I can jam all those back in someday, but the headset cable routing stuff in itself is horrible. It gets pinched really badly. And let's see. I've had issues with the internal routing of the dropper forever because of this. This doesn't happen often, but that's not great. If turning the bars can pinch the cable enough and pull it to activate the dropper, you're gonna have a bad time. Oftentimes, it's been the case where like the dropper cable is pulled and won't unpull, and the seat will just, you know, boing up and down like you're pulling the dropper the whole time, or it'll get all mushy and not be able to activate. So it's been in kind of a happy sweet spot recently, but I did go ahead and get an externally routed dropper. This guy that I'm gonna put in, which should get away from that problem, hopefully. I would think so. And I'm just gonna run the cable along here and stick it in somewhere, or, you know, just up to here. The main deal breaker with this bike that I've had is the lower headset cup. It was like bored too wide. It's oversized a little bit for the lower bearing, to where I have this fork play. I don't know. I mean, obviously the camera can't feel it. But you can hear the rattle already. I mean, and with plenty of other ride footage. Basically, the fork just does not fit well into this headset cup. I don't know how to show it. The fork is flexing like this when your head angle is already 63 degrees. It can definitely feel like the front of the bike is gonna snap off, which is not super confidence inspiring. It's on a, you know, a 36, 160 mil 36, so you do kind of want to plow stuff. And when the fork is just doing this in front of you and making scary creak noises, yeah, not great. So the plan is to repair that as best I can. LightCarbon was not super helpful. They wouldn't take responsibility on, you know, repairing the frame or working with me on a new front triangle. They just said, oh, it's probably the headset bearing. So I ended up buying, you know, a few more headset bearings for the lower headset and new crown races and all that. And basically my plan is put in a new headset bearing and try to shim it all the way around just to make it super tight, and use some Loctite for press fit bearing repair, press fit repair. So hopefully that'll, you know, seal the gap in between the shims and the headset bearing, and just kind of like glue the fork into the frame at that point. And hopefully I never need to change a headset bearing, and it'll just last forever. So for the bike build, I got the frame first, of course, and then started looking for a shock. It's annoying finding a trunnion shock, but you know, it is what it is. I got a RockShox Super Deluxe Ultimate Coil, which has been amazing. Shock is like fantastic. It feels wonderful on this bike. I also got a Fox 36. You know, just pretty entry level. Oh, I guess it's performance. It's got the bleeders, but it's just got a grip damper, nothing fancy, works great. SLX brakes, good brakes are good to have. With 4 piston, of course, and 203 rotors, front and rear. Other than that, I mean, suspension and brakes are what matter, right? Drivetrain is whatever. This is some random SRAM wheel, pretty low engagement hub, with, you know, a SRAM cassette and Shimano Dior derailleur. It's all 12-speed stuff, mix and matched, whatever. And just a Shimano shifter, nothing crazy. Pretty sweet build. I think the whole thing came out to probably, I don't know, 3,200 bucks total at the end of the day, which is good for an e-bike 2 years ago. But these days you can get e-bikes for so cheap that it's kind of not worth it. No motor climb test. Guess that's not really the point of a e-bike. So Eco makes things pretty easy. But I'll lean in and load the fork some.
Here's power 2 out of 5. 3, 4, and max. Turbo. Honestly, this bike might be good mountain lion deterrent. It creaks and it sings like a teapot. Cuts out at 20, like you would expect. All this stuff is very green, wide, undulating trail, not steep in either direction. I would have preferred to do this little shakedown ride on some Rocky Point trails or something like that. Still jumps. Yeah, just weather is looking not great for the next couple days. I don't even have time for this ride today. I'm just on lunch. So this ride is not a good demonstration of handling on anything steep or technical or very jumpy. Which is a bummer, because that's how all of the other YouTube videos on this bike are, like DIY boomers on mellow green trails. If you're getting an e-bike with 150 travel, I feel like you want to hit something fun. Not this. Not that it's not, but you know, this is XC bike terrain. Not all mountain enduro-y stuff. Woo-hee! Oh my god. Oh yeah. Cool.